Welcome, folks. I am Jaby Koay, joined by ACHARA KIRK.
Hi, guys.
So we're going to look at the KINGSMAN official teaser, The KINGSMAN. So
just one.
This is a bit different in the title situation there. So
Prequel.
Full disclosure, I watched KINGSMAN Part 1, and as did you.
Yes.
And we did not see Part 2. However, we did get to hang out with the editor while he explained to us some of the stuff from that film while he showed it to us.
Yeah, the action stuff.
Yeah,
it was cool.
Pretty darn awesome. And so now we're going to look at this. Let's check it out. Here we go.
What is this? World War One?
Throughout time, our people robbed, lied, and killed. Until one day, we found ourselves noblemen. But that nobility never came from chivalry. It came from being tough and ruthless.
Oh, God.
Real power is not found running off to war. Real power lies in understanding who it is you're truly fighting. And how they can be defeated. I know you want to fight, but there are other ways of doing your duty. Come on.
Ooh.
You know, I really dig this.
I dig it, too.
I think it's really cool to go back to the beginning. Well, it's not the very beginning of the KINGSMAN, but it's
I think it is.
Well, no, it's the beginning of Colin Firth's journey, right?
Oh.
I mean,
You might be right. That might be the young Colin Firth right there.
That's what I'm gathering from this. I could be wrong.
I mean, it looks like it's World War One. Is Colin Firth in the movie that old
Maybe not.
to have been able to do that?
Maybe not.
I like the look of it. All that stuff with World War One was giving me goosebumps just because I feel like, I mean, all war is atrocious, but World War One to me is the one that just really gets under my skin. And I don't know if it's because there's some sort of, you know, personal family element in it because my grandfather fought in the war, but also it was an awful, awful war. A lot of horrendous things happened and many young men died in awful ways, you know? It was just gross. I read All Quiet on the Western Front in high school and it like really messed me up. So seeing all that kind of imagery was just like, ugh. But it looks really cool. I like Ralph Fiennes. I think he's fantastic. I love him when he does drama. I especially love him when he does comedy. And I think the cast looks really interesting. We've got like Jaimon Honsu there as well.
This is not any characters from the previous installments, as far as I can tell. I'm looking at the IMDb right now, and it looks like it's all new identities. The name of the young guy, played by Matthew Good, is Tristan.
Okay.
And there's no Tristan from the, I mean, as far as I remember.
I don't remember.
There's no Tristan from the previous Kings, unless it's like an old dude that died off or something like that, that was, you know, just there for the purposes of the storytelling, but like, he got killed off.
But like we can't remember him. Yeah.
Yeah, we can't. Well, you know what I'm saying? Because wasn't there like a whole thing where a bunch of them got killed off or something like that?
Yeah, yeah.
And so he could have been one of those guys if he's even in the previous installments. But irrespective, I think that this is such a cool idea, seeing, you know, the earlier stages, and it gives you somewhere to go because then you can do the chapters in between, catching you up to present day and how we got there to eventually see Colin Firth's story.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that could be cool to see, I guess, like the parallel, I don't want to say parallel universe, but like the parallel thing going on, almost like the Illuminati or something, you know?
Right.
This kind of secret backdoor thing like Men in Black, where you see the actual thing that was happening that the public saw, and you're seeing this other side. that was sort of keeping everything in balance.
And I think what's interesting as well is because it is set in the past and we have an understanding of history, it's cool to see how that will come into play. Because I was looking at the bad guy and I was thinking, oh, is that Rasputin? And I wasn't sure. My history's like not the most, accurate, but just the way he was dressed and stuff, I was like, oh, that would be kind of cool. He's probably not. But
it doesn't say Rasputin here. I'm looking right now on
Yeah.
IMDb. It looks like they're actually trying to hide some of the names on IMDb to avoid giving away anything, which is
Right.
smart.
Yeah.
I'm glad they're doing that. But, it makes it harder to kind of understand what's happening when you're just trying to pick apart the teaser.
But it seems like there are some Russian characters here,
Well,
so I'm
yeah.
not wrong in picking up that kind of Russian vibe. I like historical dramas. I just find them so interesting. And then that coupled with the style of Kingsman
Right.
as well, with like that
No, I think
cool
that's super
action.
cool, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, there's a lot. I think that we have sort of this fascination with telling history in a fictional way.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at, I think there's this game that came out for PlayStation 3 a while back called Resistance: The Fall of Man, which was made by Insomniac Games, and they had 3 installments. And all of it was, what if aliens invaded us during this time, like in World War I or II?
Right.
I mean, I don't fully remember the story, the plot of the game, because it's been a long time, but it was something like that, and it was really neat to think about. And then you have Call of Duty games, where I don't remember if any of them do anything kind of like that, but it is neat to go back. We have this fascination with that era, with those wars, and to take it and add this other element there,
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
It's like some conspiracy theory stuff.
Well,
you
exactly,
know?
because you have this notion that everything was decided on the battlefield.
Yeah.
But I think this is introducing the notion that no, there was this other thing going on that was really helping in deciding which direction history swayed.
Right, yeah.
And I think that's really neat to consider. I mean, I was all about conspiracy theories when I was a kid, taking apart like the dollar and finding the little spider on there and what does the eye mean, and looking
Right.
at how the Masons are all connected to it. Like I was super into all of that stuff. And any of the messages on the $20 bill, which was not something I would repeat here, but I was into David Icke or whatever, David Icke, and the reptilian race and all that stuff. So
Wow.
anything sort of diving into all that is, even remotely, for the purposes of having cool action, is neat. And so it gives you different items to play with as well, because you're not dealing with modern weapons, you're dealing with weapons of that era and elevating it in this very dramatic, almost in a steampunkish kind of way. They're not quite doing steampunk,
No.
but I imagine there will be tech that shows up that probably didn't actually exist at that
Right.
time, which borders on steampunk.
Well, yeah, and that's the whole thing behind Kingsman, right? Is all their cool tech, but it's like cool tech from the World War I era. Like,
Right.
what does that look like?
Well, yeah, I mean, they're obviously going to take it and make it more advanced.
Right.
Which is why I'm saying steampunk, even though it's not truly that genre. The idea of it is neat. And so I'm actually really into this. I imagine that the level of violence is not being hinted at well enough here, because I think it's going to be very, very violent. I mean, going off of the previous 2 films, especially the second one, I mean, what I saw of just that fight scene, it was like, whoa, that's...
Yeah, well, even
know.
even that first one with that epic church fight scene.
Oh, right.
That was also
Yeah,
shocking.
But most of that like gunshots and stuff? I mean, was there a lot of stabbing? I can't remember.
there was some stabbing, yeah.
But I feel like it was done in such a way that I don't know.
well, because it was cut to the music and it was really dynamic and it was, it's just like...
Right.
And so you just kind of got desensitized to the violence. But if you really think about it, there was some pretty horrific...
There was horrific stuff, but there wasn't a lot of limbs flying off, is what I'm saying,
Yeah,
right? It
yeah.
was like stabbing and shooting,
like,
but and maybe like head smashing,
Yeah.
but it wasn't anything like super, super gory. Yes, it was violent, but it wasn't gory. Like gory to
Right.
me is where you're seeing
Like,
innards,
guts and brains
yeah, and
and-
stuff like that,
yeah.
and like things being pulled apart. Where that wasn't happening there, it was more surface stuff, like stabbing and shooting, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was still violent, don't get me wrong.
Very violent.
But what I'm saying is here, I feel like it's going to go further. Because you're dealing with World War I, which was a very grotesque war.
Yeah.
I don't know how much is going to go into that or if that's just the backdrop, but it already looked like from the small things they were hinting at that it's going to get gruesome sometimes. Anyway, more par for the course for those of you that love violence. I'm wondering about the style of it, though, more than anything, because of the era it's set in. Are you still going to have that kind of hypnotic music that was present in what I remember from Kingsman 1? The music in the church fight was Leonard Skinner, and so it was, it helped elevate that scene and made
Right.
it hypnotic and crazy. I'm wondering what kind of music they're going to use here to enhance the action.
Yeah, can you imagine if it's like actually period music? That would just be very strange, I think.
No, I think it would go with it actually, because I forget what it was. Was it Atomic Blonde? There was a fight scene in an apartment or something, and the music wasn't like action music. I didn't love that fight scene, but I thought the idea was cool, using this music that was in contrast with the action going on.
Right.
Much like Face Off.
Yeah, with, like, Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and there was
Yeah.
like slow motion action and whatnot. I feel like they could totally use songs from that era and make it work. I think it's a cool challenge for Matthew Vaughn to see, you know, what he can do with that, because I know that the music and the action is like, it's very much partners in telling the story here.
Yeah, very much so. Just on a random note, I appreciated the representation of the Scots in there.
Yeah.
The very first guy carrying his friend on his shoulder in a kilt. I'm like, woo, yay for Scotland. Good job. Love you.
Well, on that note, you guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Be sure to check out ACHARA KIRK on the social media, as well as the Jabster if you feel like doing that. I'm on Twitter and Instagram. And subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the bell icon so you get notified every time we drop another video. Check out our other reactions, reviews, short films, and vlogs. I am Jaby Koay. This is
ACHARA KIRK.
Peace out.